Next up, we'll have a panel discussion with our customers who are using automation to deliver dynamic experiences and improve their bottom line.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this panel here at Conquer Local Connect. Today on our customer panel, we're going to be talking about using dynamic and personalized content to fuel growth. And I'm really happy to have some really great panelists here to discuss that with me. First up, I want to introduce our panelists, and I'm going to start with the founder and CEO of Growth Lab, formerly known as the Business Finder SEO. We have Will Palmer. How you doing, Will?
Hey, John. Good to see you guys. Good to be here.
Also with us here today, we have the Business Development Officer and the namesake of King Group Partners since 2017, Harold King. Hi, nice to see you, Harold.
Hi, guys. Good to see you.
And then also with me, I have one of my colleagues here at Vendasta working with our partners to help them become better and grow their revenue. We've got PDM, Partner Development Manager, Dakota Zirk.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much for all of you being here. And before we start a bit more of the round robin panel, I want to ask some specific targeted questions here. So I'm going to start out with this one for Will. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, a record-breaking 10.9 million jobs were left unfilled at the end of July 2021, and this was fueled in part by many millions of Americans leaving their jobs. And now, still nearly a year later, many businesses are trying to find ways to do more with less human resources. So what I want to know for you, Will, is how have you used automation to help with your administration work or in general to help do more with less? And what impact has that made on your sales and operations?
Yeah, that's a great question, John. I think when I think of automation, it can expand a lot of parts of a business and a company. And I break it down into, I think, 3 areas that would be pertinent for this conversation. Obviously, we're focused around sales, which is one. Then, of course, the financial side and then the operations side. But through the sales lens, the automation for Growth Lab and what we've been able to do, I think, starts with the beginning of the sales process in the funnel, which is email campaigns. And I think what's had a lot of success for us is having really strong lead magnets or downloadable case studies that can trigger some kind of campaign just to get some trust and authority built within our target audience. And something else that we do that's a little bit unique on the front end of a sales process, and automation is a part of this, is sort of vetting our potential clients as much as they're vetting us. Because I think if we aren't confident we can drive results for them, and obviously we serve law firms exclusively, so we're a little bit different, we don't want to have a call or waste our time. So we actually require most of our prospects to submit a questionnaire before they speak to a member of our team. What's cool about that questionnaire on our site is what they have to do in order to get pricing and things like that. But the answers to that questionnaire are automatically sent to our sales development team and the people that are scheduling appointments. And it uncovers a lot of questions around the pain points in marketing, how they found us, their financial situation, their propensity to buy. And it allows us to come really prepared on a first call with kind of knowing what their hand in poker is before we have to sort of guess. So that's kind of the front end of automation on the sales process, which we use Vendasta, of course, to get all that information in to the Sales and Success Center, which is really cool. But then I think on the second half of the sales process, we are building proposals out of Vendasta, which is a really awesome new tool, and creating sales orders. We actually had other pieces of software that we kind of bolted onto our processes that we were forced to use, that we could cut a lot of costs out of that. And it now can tie in our pricing and marketing packages in Vendasta with sales orders. We actually, when we're fulfilling a sales order, we have custom form questions that we call our client order briefs that, when a sales order in Vendasta is sent out, our teams are notified internally. Our strategic partners, if they apply to a product, are notified, and that can kick off fulfillment. And then we even have campaign automations for new clients unrelated to prospecting in the sales process that ask a lot of sort of good questions around what are your credentials for this account and this website, or, welcome to our team, or explaining our onboarding process, and again, continuing to build trust. So I think automation within the sales process is huge.
That's so good to hear. Even having that end-to-end piece, it's not just removing administration work at the start, it's moving administration work all throughout, which can have a really big impact. I'll go next to Harold, and actually, we sort of heard a little bit about this from Will already, but sort of one of the eternal problems for sales organizations is spending time and money working with prospects, or maybe even end up working with customers who don't end up being good fits with your business. So we heard a little bit of how about Will might work and determine who he's going to sell to, but how does the King Group determine who you sell to, and how do you scale that process?
Yeah. So the way I'd kick this off is one of the largest billboard owners in this part of the country was just here in my office a couple weeks back, and he said, "Man, I've been doing this for 26 years, and I've just learned that winners win." And that really resonated with me because it's the same thing for us. We only want to work with people that actually want to grow and want to be the best in their industry. And so, how do you filter every single lead that comes in, or as you're doing direct outreach as well, how do you filter that when it comes to adding clients and prospecting? And so for us, what we found is, if it's an inbound lead, there are a few different ways we get inbound leads. One of those will just be phone calls. And so if somebody calls in, we have a series of questions that we ask that kind of can pinpoint if somebody has the right mindset to even work with us. And so you get those frantic phone calls that come in, and people, or you can tell it's the whole process of where they're at currently is just a mess. And sometimes you can help people, but questions on the front end when people call in is a really, really big deal before they even get to the next level with us. Another way on the inbound side is, if leads are coming in through, like Will was talking about, a website. And so for that, we have a couple different ways that we deal with that. One is, we have a market research report. We all know what I'm talking about there, a snapshot report. And, we charge quite a bit of money for that report, because if somebody is not willing to spend money on the first step, $100, if somebody's not willing to spend $100 to get really good information on their company, to get an accurate assessment of where they're at, then we typically are probably not going to be a good fit. The second thing is maybe they just want some more information and they're interested. So at that point, we do the same thing. We ask a series of questions in that form that tells us a lot of different things about their business. And then we'll do an assessment and find out if we're a good fit or not. And then the other way is, and this is a powerful way to grow a company, is systematic, daily systematic growth with specific types of companies. And that's something that we're really good at, something that we specialize in. We're really disciplined in it. But for that side of things, we just do a ton of market research ahead of time, looking at different companies and their competitors in local areas, and identifying people who'd be a great fit that we know that we could grow. And so that would be the last way I would kind of I would mention that. And what's interesting is when you start working with companies in our industry, you sometimes you have a business owner who's built a multi-million-dollar company but doesn't have a marketing team. Sometimes you have companies that have amazing marketing teams, but they just need direction because they don't know what they don't know. And then sometimes you have a team of people who all wear a bunch of different hats. And so I think being able to have a game plan as you are vetting these different types of companies, because that becomes the next level, is you might become really good at finding companies that are a good fit, but then having something for each one of those types of companies in the stage of wherever they're at as a company, I think is also crucial as well.
It's really good to hear a lot of these common themes, even though we have different people working with different partners, different areas. There's a lot of common themes around having a repeatable process. It's good to see that there's these commonalities, and I want to come back to some of that about the repeatable process versus what we keep unique. I'm going to go to Dakota now, particularly because of your experience in expansion as a partner development manager. We've seen those studies where the probability of selling to a new prospect is between 5 and 20%, whereas the probability of selling to an existing customer is 60 and 70%. So how have you got your partners, or how do you leverage automations to increase those existing customers' ticket size while balancing the time to acquire new customers?
Yeah, great question there, John. And it's a little bit of a balancing act. I know I have a lot of partners that originally come to us and say, well, Dakota, I need this automated funnel. And you hear that term funnel quite a bit of, well, I just need something that's hands off that puts them through. And then that's not something that I would quite subscribe to. And I would actually take it a step further, where we are not just trying to have a hands-off process, but instead we want to automate the things that allow you as an agency owner, as a marketer, to really refine and spend your time working on your superpower. So not doing things that are tedious, that you're going to be doing for multiple clients. Those are the things that we look to automate. And what we do through that is we also use your consumers, your customers, your prospects. We use their behavior, and whether it's an email campaign, some kind of ad campaign, we use those materials to further set automation so your sales team is spending the most time with the right customers. As agency owners, Harold and Will can probably both attest to this. There's nothing more maddening than spending a lot of time with not the right lead. And you heard Harold and Will both speak to how they go to prevent that. So through the automation side, what we also like to do is basically have our clients qualify themselves through engaging in our activity and by giving us a signal, some kind of buying intent that we are interested and we should have a conversation. And then what this allows agency owners like Harold and Will to do is to have their sales team spending more time on trying to acquire those new customers that they can then turn into existing customers. But to really streamline and keep things smooth, it's automating the processes that don't need that personal touch of closing the sale, providing that excellent customer services that everyone in the chat here provides, and instead allows the team to be spending the right time with the right people, ultimately multiplying their recurring revenue.
I love that answer. Thanks so much, Dakota. We're going to move on to some group questions here. So everyone feel free to jump in as needed, though I'll probably lob it to someone to get it started. And what I want to start with is we've all talked a little bit about what we're already doing for automations or our sales process. But I'd love to hear if you have anything in mind that, okay, this is the next thing that I'm going to try to automate or systematize. And then maybe what do you have in the more long-term future? What's something that you want to get there to? And if it's okay, Harold, if you could start us off with that. What are you hoping to automate or systematize in the near and distant future?
Yeah, I think we're wanting to get more and more of a focus on continual education for our clients. Will probably can speak to this too. Sometimes you come into companies and they actually have amazing marketing teams, but they just need a little bit of training. And so sometimes that's hands-on training that you might charge for a day rate, but then I think continual education and helping these marketing teams that are so busy that they do not have the time to continually learn things and stay out in front of different changes on all the different channels and platforms. I mean, think about Twitter. If that sale goes through, Twitter's going to completely change. Facebook in the last month, 2 months, 3 months has changed a lot. And so that continual education gives the executives a peace of mind and a trust in their marketing teams. And I just think that ongoing automation of continual education is really going to be something that is going to be a big deal in the future. I think when we first started as a company, I saw a thing that said like 5,000 new technologies, marketing technologies had come out in the last, I think 6 months at the time. And so I can't imagine what that is now, but I just think automating continual education so that companies feel like they're out in front is going to be a really big thing to focus on in the future.
Yeah, if I may jump in, I was going to say something very similar to what Harold just mentioned. I think as we expand this Growth Lab brand and we try to make it synonymous with words like innovation and sort of being on the front end of all these new technologies, having sort of, a resource area that we can continue to build out that's sort of giving away the secret sauce, so to speak, around how we're different than other marketers, what we do and how we leverage technology differently. And that can be in the form of, like I mentioned earlier, case studies or just different checklists or tools or documents that our clients can find truly valuable. That's not for clickbait. It's not smoke and mirrors or sugarcoating what we do. It's truly valuable information. And then you can automate a lot of things when they're inside of your ecosystem on the back end, like newsletters and just showing how you as a company are being innovative and using different technologies. And that just, I think, with all the sort of imposters out there in the marketing world and all the services that are unfortunately exploited nowadays to businesses, having an authoritative, true expert share that is, I think, more important than ever.
I really want to jump and talk in on this. We've been covering this a little bit in all of our individual pieces here, but while automation can be extremely flexible, personable, and quick, there are still those things that we want to have a human handle. It's important to us. It's important to our processes. So what work that contributes to growing and scaling are you not automating in the near future, or really planning so that you can spend more time doing the things that make your business successful? I'd actually maybe, Dakota, if you wouldn't mind, you already talked a little bit about sort of the funnel system and why you think that doesn't work. Can you expand upon that a little?
Yeah, and I'd absolutely love to hear, John. So with that piece, and what I kept going back to, what we want to avoid automating perfectly ties into your question here. And something that I really tell my partners and learn from partners and working with them is that we do not want to be automating things like the client sales. This is your chance as either the salesperson, the marketer, whatever your position might be, to understand what the client needs. And after you know what the client needs, this allows you to then map the problem and how you can best solve that. So for me and with the partners that I work with, one thing that we will continually never automate is the actual selling with the client, because that not only gives us a chance to figure out their problem, it also provides opportunity for upsell if we're able to identify additional concerns that maybe were not identified in our first little bit of conversations. And the second piece that I will continue to push my partners not to automate is customer service. We're going to get to a point in life where everyone can buy a product, everyone can buy a service. The one thing that's going to separate us from other groups, other agencies, is that feeling that we're able to provide when they work with a group like the King Group, right? Everyone loves them. They know that that's the group that they want to partner with if they want to be the best. And by automating things like that, whether it be how you talk to the clients, your monthly meeting, you lose the touch with your client, your prospect. And so automating customer service and client sales is one thing I am constantly telling partners. It's not the way to go. Instead, let's automate things that allow you to spend more time with your customers, go through more sales motions, and super serve them so you can either get a referral or a long-time customer.
Sounds like Dakota's specifically calling out the King Group there for customer service. Would you agree, Harry? Is that a thing that you're not going to be automating?
Yeah. To piggyback on that, I'd love to hear from Will on this too, because he talked about focusing on lawyers, but I think we all know that ClickFunnels has made a massive dent in this realm, right? But the thing is you have all of these people going through niche marketing online courses every single day. And so like lawyers specifically for Will, I mean, I'm sure that his industries just get hammered with what all of these lawyers now classify, get this, as spam. And that ClickFunnels feels like the new spam for people, anybody who sees a landing page and a video sales letter. And so I think the human touch, there's no substitute for great leaders. I mean, look at Brendan King and George Leith. There's no substitute for great leaders, and great leadership trickles down through an entire organization. And I think that the human touch, people don't trust marketers more than ever before. People do not trust marketers. And so I think having, dynamic people who are a part of your team that are transparent and that are educators and that are patient with people, and helping them get to a place of trust, that's the human element. People that do not want to ever talk to someone ever, the average relationship at that point is about 6 months. But, for us, if you have a really strong, transparent relationship with somebody, over the course of 3 years, I think we're at about a 98% retention rate because of the human touch.
Will, do you have anything to add about sort of that specific niche problem, perhaps, where you see those people who are going straight for I'm only doing this vertical, but they don't do that hands-on approach that you folks do?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can scale and build a marketing business or any business. So on one end of the spectrum, you can have sort of a commodity approach where maybe you sell and stamp out 1,000 versions of the same thing that could offer value. For legal and some of the other niches, the nuances that are required to understand to make it successful because of how competitive it is don't lend itself to that. So I think what Harold said around educating clients and reducing churn, that was really what I would hone in on. The thing we will never automate. Now, there's automation part of this, but we don't rely exclusively on it, is when and how we communicate results to our clients, because he's right. People don't trust marketers. There's a stigma around it. No matter how good or bad a marketing campaign may be going, if I look at a competitor, I could still cherry pick numbers to make it seem like it's good. And that's a problem. So with us, yes, it's fine to have an automated report go out monthly. You don't want to just rely completely on, having to send stuff out manually, but we piggyback on that with, we use technology like Loom, where we are doing screen recordings. We're walking the clients through not the vanity metrics, but the metrics that actually show where the rubber meets the road in terms of things like call volume and lead volume, quality, the duration of calls when we're tracking leads and things like that. And then what percent are converting into paid clients. And we can focus on those metrics, impressions aside, clicks aside. And when we do that in a personal way outside of automation, our clients trust us indefinitely more. And they know we're not full of BS. And we know we tie their goals into these results. And that's really huge. So that would be my piggyback on the answer so far. Good question.
Yeah, thank you all. I had so many more questions prepared, but my producers are probably waving the flag at me right now. We're going to be way over time. So maybe just one sort of final question. And if you can keep it in a sentence, amazing. You're great wordsmiths, but also knowing you have a lot to say. In one sentence-ish, how would you describe the impact of automation and on your business, or I suppose starting with Dakota, on your partners' businesses?
So I'm going to do my best to get it in one sentence, even though this could count as two. The biggest thing that I want to be bringing to my partners to help with their bottom line is I want to save them admin time, bring them more sales revenue, which both together allow them to have more ability to prospect more customers and upsell existing.
Yeah, that's one sentence. I buy that. Harold, let's see if you can get one sentence.
Let's say good automation increases more time for the human touch of transparency and education.
Ooh, that's we're really getting down to the wire. Will, can you have even less words? Probably not.
Automation increases our team's effectiveness at performing our jobs at the highest possible level.
Not as few words, but also a really good value statement either way.
Really good. Yeah, I was really good.
Thank you all so much. I really appreciate having you on the panel. Should folks check you out on LinkedIn? I think I've got you, Will and Harold, on LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And can't wait to see what you guys do with automation going forward.
Thanks, guys. Good to be here.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Cheers.